Good day everyone, my name is Alex and welcome to a new review. So if you have about $800 and you want a phone that looks different than anything else available on the market, what could you possibly get? Well, Xiaomi's got you covered with the Xiaomi Mi Mix. This phone looks different than anything else available on the market at this time, and I have to say that this is probably one of the best looking phones of 2016. Aside from being made out of ceramic and glass and looking gorgeous, this phone also has really good specs. So we have the Snapdragon 821, we have 6 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of internal storage and running Android 6. You can also get this phone with 4 gigs of RAM or 128 gigs of internal storage. And the price, of course, it's lower than on this one. With that CPU and RAM, the phone also gets a very good score on the Antutu Benchmark of about 138 and a really good score on the Geekbench 4, and this is probably one of the fastest phones that I have ever tried. As I mentioned before, the back of the phone is made out of ceramic, and this is the most slippery phone that I have ever had. Just by trying to hold this phone with 2 fingers, it will literally slide out of your fingers, so it's that slippery. It's that slippery that it's almost impossible to pick it up from a table. So yeah, it is one of the most slippery devices ever made. On the back we have the 16 megapixel camera, the dual tone flash and the fingerprint scanner, and this version, which is the most expensive one, also have 18K gold rims around the camera and the fingerprint scanner. And since I'm talking about the fingerprint scanner it's very accurate, so I would say 10 out of 10 times it works great, and it is extremely fast as well. The phone's frame is also made out of ceramic, and on the right hand side we have the power button and the volume keys, and of course the power button and the volume keys are also made out of ceramic. On top of the device you're gonna find 2 microphones and a 3.5mm audio jack. The sound coming out of the audio jack, it's one of the best that I heard on any mobile device, and paired with a good pair of headphones it's gonna give you some amazing results. Moving on the other side of the phone, you're gonna find a SIM card tray, and this device can take 2 SIM cards in the same time, but you're not gonna be able to use a SIM card and an SD card. But considering that we have 256 gigs of internal storage, that should be more than enough for most users. And all the way at the bottom we are gonna find the speaker, the microphone and the USB-C. This phone supports fast charging, and you're gonna be able to charge the entire phone from 0 to 100 in about 2 hours. Keep in mind that we have a massive 4400 mAh battery, and since we are talking about the battery, you're gonna be able to go for about 24 hours on one battery charge and about 6 to 7 hours of screen on time. So really good battery life on this device. The phone also supports OTG, so you're gonna be able to connect any USB stick to the phone and you're gonna be able to read whatever you have on that USB stick. So yet another awesome feature for this device. And lastly, the speaker quality. Unfortunately, this phone doesn't have a great speaker, and it's one of the lowest sounding speakers that I've heard in quite some time, and you're actually gonna miss a few phone calls because you're just not gonna hear the speaker. So the speaker, it's not the best, but here is a sample so you can see for yourself how the speaker sounds. The front of the phone, it's where the magic happens. So we have a 6.44 inches IPS display with a 17:9 1080p resolution. And because that resolution it's a bit strange, something like YouTube videos, you're not gonna be able to watch on the entire screen. Other than that, all the apps are actually gonna cover the entire screen, and the phone does look gorgeous for pretty much every single app that I tried. The colors on the screen are nice and vibrant, and we also get excellent viewing angles. And the screen sensitivity is very good as well, and I was expecting that I would touch the screen without wanting, just by holding the phone, because we have almost no bezels, but that never happens, so I'm very happy to say that you're not gonna have accidental touches in any app whenever you're using the phone. There is also some type of scratch resistant glass on top of the screen, because I tried to scratch this and it doesn't seem to get scratched, and the screen does get quite bright. However, when you go outside in bright daylight, there is a lot of reflection and glare, so it is a bit difficult to see the screen whenever you're outside. The phone also has on-screen buttons, but if you don't like seeing those buttons covering your screen, you can always swipe them down and they will disappear. Since there are no bezels on top of the phone here, there is no place for a speaker or a proximity sensor, and that's why Xiaomi had to use something different. So we have a piezoelectric driver, and what that does, basically vibration becomes sound. Now you can talk on the phone like this, like a normal phone. You can actually turn the phone around and talk like that. You can even turn the phone like this and talk like this. So you can talk on the phone pretty much any way you want. And yeah, it sounds crazy, but it actually works very well. So the sound is nice and clear, and everybody was able to hear me very well no matter how I was holding the phone. I had some concerns at the beginning because it is something different and new, but it does seem to work very good. All the way at the bottom you're gonna find a little black chin, and we also have a notification light in there, so that notification light can change colors, and we also have a 5 megapixel front-facing camera. Now it is a bit different to use that front-facing camera because it's sitting at the bottom of the device, so a lot of times you're gonna actually turn the phone around so you can take a better selfie. Unfortunately, the picture quality from the front-facing camera it's not the best. So in daylight you're gonna be able to take some decent pictures, not the best, some decent pictures as I said, and in low light conditions the pictures look just horrible. And I've seen some cheaper devices from China, around $200, that take better pictures than this device. So that's kind of unfortunate. And these are a couple of sample pictures that I took with the front-facing camera. Moving to the phone software, so we have Android 6.0.1 running on the Xiaomi Mi mixed with Xiaomi's own skin on top of it called MIUI 8. Me personally, I don't like MIUI 8, and as soon as I get any Xiaomi device, I install Nova Launcher. So yeah, as soon as you have Nova Launcher on this phone, looks a lot like a phone that's running stock Android, and that's a good thing. However, this is one of the fastest phones that I have ever seen and tried until now, and this has actually become my daily driver. I chose this over the Google Pixel, over a lot of other devices because it's just the fastest phone I have ever had. Multitasking on it works really good, and that's something strange for Xiaomi. Of course, you have to change a whole bunch of stuff in the software there, so the software doesn't actually kill those apps running in the background, because that's what Xiaomi does. But after you tweak the phone a little bit, it becomes really fast, and the multitasking works excellent. I mean, no apps running in the background are being closed at any point now. That being said, out of that 6 gigs of RAM, I only have like 1.5 gigs left, and I do have a whole bunch of apps running in the background at all times. The settings app on the Xiaomi Mi Mix looks very similar to the settings app that we've seen on past Xiaomi devices. So we have some smart features like double tap to wake up, and we can also hide those buttons at the bottom of the screen. So those are the only added features that I've seen versus cheaper Xiaomi devices. Out of that 256 gigs of internal storage, we get about 246 left, so about 10 are being taken by the operating system, but I believe that with over 200 gigs of free storage, that should be more than enough for everyone. And for languages, there are a lot of languages supported like most of these Chinese devices. As I mentioned before, this is one of the fastest phones I've ever used, and now apps on this phone look different than anything that you've experienced before, because the app is on the entire screen. You don't have ugly bezels all around. So using apps like Chrome, for example, they work really good, scrolling up, down, zooming in, zooming out, and again, the experience is much different than anything that you've tried before. Twitter, Instagram, or anything like that will also work really good. On the YouTube app, you're going to be able to watch videos at the maximum resolution of 1080p, which is basically the resolution of the screen. But keep in mind that the video it's not going to fill out the entire screen because we have a stranger resolution with this phone. However, I didn't find that to be a big issue. Gaming on this phone, it's also taken to the next level. So if you're used to playing games on a little screen, yeah, this is much different. You don't have those ugly bezels all around your game. So when you're playing games on this phone, yeah, it does look different, and of course all the games are gonna work really good because we have a very powerful processor and a lot of RAM. On the back of the phone we have a 16 megapixel OmniVision sensor with the f2.0, and on paper it does sound quite good. The camera app looks identical to the camera app that we've seen on many Xiaomi devices. We do have a lot of options and features in there, but I found that most of the features and options in there are rather useless. We have a manual mode that seems to work very good, and we also have a HDR mode. However, I found that the HDR mode is a bit slow and it takes a bit too long to actually take pictures with the HDR mode on. As for picture quality, I have to say that the picture quality it's rather disappointing, mostly in low light conditions. And you're watching some pictures that I took with this phone, and yeah, the pictures taken in low light conditions aren't good at all. I mean, I've seen $200 phones that take better pictures in low light than this one, and I'm not sure why they chose to use this camera for such a nice phone. Daytime pictures turn out quite good. The HDR mode on kicks in the right time, and the pictures turn out quite nice if you have enough light. But yes, definitely for low light conditions, this is not a good phone. For recording videos, the camera supports 4K recording, so you can record in 4K, but unfortunately we don't have optical image stabilization, so only electronic image stabilization is available. Like most Xiaomi devices, the GPS sensor inside the Xiaomi Mix works very good, so it only takes a couple of seconds even inside the house to actually connect the satellites, and it is even faster if you're outside. Using Google Maps, it's also done very well, and of course with such a big screen it's quite a joy to actually use Google Maps and pretty much any other app. As for sensors, there are a lot of sensors available, but I guess that's expected when you pay close to $900 on a phone. So yeah, we definitely have a lot of sensors and all of them seem to work very good. Connectivity wise, the phone supports LTE and dual band Wi-Fi, and I found the speeds on 4G to be very good, and I was actually connected to the 4G the entire time that I've used this phone, and I'm located in Canada and using Rogers or Fido, it's the same thing. But yes, I was connected to the 4G the entire time that I used this phone, and I haven't had any issues with the connectivity. For the Wi-Fi it's also very quick, mostly on the 5 GHz Wi-Fi network, and you're watching some speeds over Wi-Fi, over the mobile network and so on. And it's time to conclude this video. So the Xiaomi Mi Mix is definitely one of the best looking and interesting devices for 2016. I wish we could see something like this from Google, Samsung, Apple, because they just seem to make the most boring and uninspired phones ever. But with Xiaomi we actually get all this. So the phone looks amazing, the screen changes the perspective on how you use apps and how everything works on a phone. The phone is really fast, one of the fastest phones that I've seen. The battery life is quite impressive, but the downside to this phone are the front-facing camera and the rear cameras, because yeah, they're just not great cameras. And when you make this type of a phone, why wouldn't you just try to find better cameras for it? That's just mind-blowing. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did like it, press that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.